lose away. It's been hard to throw on us since we picked up a woozy, eh? It's like win after win, feel like we could really do it. Zach Taylor doing his thing for the city, I give it to him. And I bet Samazi you'll find a hole if you give it to him. Hayden Hurst don't need a hole, he just plan on running through him. Just hand it out to 28 and let him do the dash. Getting hit by BJ Hill probably feel like a car crash. Every week it seem like Lou digging deeper in his bag. And if the game on the line, all my favorite money match. I'm from the city where they gotta play us. Fuck a coin flip, it's time to pay up. Don't cross the middle, 21 in the cut. And we ain't hiding from nobody, run and tell them it's up. I'm from the city where they gotta play us. Fuck a coin flip, it's time to pay up. Don't cross the middle, 21 in the cut. And we ain't hiding from nobody, run and tell them it's up.
What do we say, Dolph?
That's right, they gotta play us. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the show. This is Bengals Talk with Strawberry Ice. Well, we're talking Reds today. Do me a favor, if you found the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. You guys are awesome. I'm up to 2,209 subscribers. I appreciate every single one of you guys. But do me a favor, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, or Facebook or Twitter, and you have yet to subscribe to my channel, why not? Please do so. Please go to the YouTube channel, Bengals Talk with Strawberry Ice. Hit the subscription button, hit the bell for notification. Every time I go live, you'll be notified. Also, exclusively in the YouTube chat crew, we're doing super chats. So if you got a question for my main man, Jeff Carr from Locked On Bengals, or just something about Elly De La Cruz, the most electrifying man in baseball right now, I think, give me a super chat. Or if you want to support the show, give me a super chat. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, I'm coming to you live from this glorious place down here. It's called the Ice Cave. The Ice Cave is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out their website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. So if you need to rent a house or rent a condo, if you have a apartment you're looking for or a rental property you just don't want to manage anymore, give T Properties a shot, and they will take care of the rest. And as you know it, I wear it most days. I wear red stuff today, but we got Jackpot Joey 9. We got the gear, we got the flags, we got the hats. Jackpot Joey was being jacked Pot Joey today. He was jacking homers out of GABP. He's going to become a two-sport star. He's now going to be our best quarterback in the NFL. He's going to be the best left fielder for the Cincinnati Reds. Totally kidding. He was at GABP having a great time. But if you want any of the stuff, portion of the proceeds go to the Joe Burrow Hunger Foundation and the Joe Burrow Foundation right there at jackpotjoey9.com. What's up to everybody in the chat crew? What's up? We got Stranger. You were in there first. Kevin's in there. Lindsay, what's going on? How are you? Yep, go Reds. Brad, Houday, Crip, what's going on? Robert's in there. What's up? And Crown. Yes, Elly. That's what we were doing last night. I'm telling you, that was the most electrifying atmosphere that I've seen for the Cincinnati Reds in a long, long time. Last time, me and my son were talking about this. Last time I remember it being that electrifying was Clinchmas. That was 2010. My son was 10 years old. He's 22 right now. He hasn't got to watch the Reds win crap. So last night was awesome for him. It was great for me. I tweeted out the video. It's kind of shaky because I was jumping up and down because I was ecstatic. Matty Bats, that's what I'm calling Matt McClain. All I had to do is hit the ball in the outfield, solo, a pop-up or whatever. He hit it almost to the wall, and they won. It was awesome. Anyway, let's get to the man who has been talking to the Reds every single day for the last 2 or 3 years. And I know the last couple of years haven't been the easiest because he's been on my show a couple of times. And we've tried to discuss the Reds, and all we did was bitch about him. He's here now. Elly's in town. Let's get to Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds. What's up, Jeff?
How's it going, man? It's good to see you, dude.
Good to see you too, brother. I am ecstatic. Elly. Dude, that, like, the first at bat, everybody standing up, cheering. As soon as they pitched the ball, it was dead silence.
Yeah.
It was almost eerie. I'm like, dude, they were just waiting in anticipation, just letting them, get into the moment. And he got to walk his first one. Hit the first hit he got was the hardest hit ever by the Reds this year. I mean, are we hyping him up too much, or is he the real deal?
Nah, man, he is the real deal. Like, he is him. And I mean, you talk about that first at bat, every single at bat. I remember, I think it was the 6th inning. He was coming up, and I was walking around trying to find a couple of concessions. And as I was walking and other people were walking with me, you heard Joe Z get on the speaker and say, "Here comes Elly De La Cruz." Everyone in the concourse pushed up to find a viewpoint so that they could see him hit. This was the type of respect that you give the national anthem, but it wasn't at bat. And it was phenomenal. I loved it so much. I haven't heard that much energy at the ballpark. And you talked about Clinchmas, and I mean, I think of, Todd Frazier, the home run derby,
Right.
And let's be honest, it's been a long time. I can't remember any sort of regular season game outside of the later months that has drawn that much just energy to GABP.
Tuesday night in June. It wasn't packed, but that's the biggest crowd I've seen there this year. So I've only been to like 3 games, but it was awesome. Now, one thing I'm excited about this, and I haven't seen this many prospects come. I'm going to show my age here, but I haven't seen this many prospects come up since the late 80s. Right. Since Eric Davis, Chris Sabo, Barry Larkin, Tom Browning, all those guys all came up in the late 80s, and it led to the 1990 World Series. And it led to, I'm sorry, when I was a kid, we won a lot. I've said this before, if they had the playoff system like they have now back in the 80s, the Reds would have went to the playoffs almost every year because we finished second for like 5 years in a row. So that's what's exciting about this. It's not just Elly. It's Encarnacion Strand, which hopefully he'll be up next week. It's Abbott, who pitched a one-hitter for 6 innings on his debut. I mean, you got Hunter Green. You got Nick Lodolo. I know he's hurt right now. We got Ashcraft. He's been up and down. But you can see the talent. You can see what we have here. And by God, if the Reds actually stick to their plan, that's been my biggest issue with them. They go rebuild. We're going to rebuild. We're going to do this. And they never stick to it. It seems like they actually might stick to it. What's your thoughts on the future of the Reds right now?
This is the thing that I took away the most from Tuesday night, is that the future is now. Mm-hmm. Reds Fest, they were selling us on, well, we've got these guys that are coming out, these prospects that, when they get here, you guys are going to love it. They're here now. And we're looking at the guys that need to take the next step in Green, Lodolo, and Ashcraft. And yes, they're all, whether you're talking about injury with Green and Lodolo or just struggles here recently for Graham Ashcraft, this is the part of the adjustment year for all 3 of those guys. And you've got Alexis Diaz, who's anchoring the bullpen. You've got, and right now, depending on which website you look at, in fact, I think both Fangraphs and Baseball Reference have Alexis Diaz as the guy who has the highest wins above replacement on the team right now, which is crazy to see. But overall, these are the guys that are going to be here. These aren't the guys that are going to get us from A to B. These aren't the guys who, we just found them as a retread. We're not even talking about Brandon Drury type players anymore. We're talking about the backbone, the core of our team is here, and figuring out how they all fit into place is basically what this year was supposed to be for. And oh, by the way, the division sucks. So we actually have a chance that by figuring out where these guys are going to play, they can also do some winning too. I love the fact this whole year has just been so exciting for me, and there's still 100 games left to go.
Exactly. Now I got a question here from Crown, and he's like, why don't they leave Elly at third? Well, my thing is, I'll give my thoughts and then you can answer. My thing is, your best athlete should be at shortstop. Yeah. That's your best athlete. That's the guy that has to have the most range. And people get upset about India, which they're not trading Jonathan India. They might move him to third base. Yeah. They might move him to the outfield. They're trading India. They're stupid. I mean, they'll trade any of these guys. But if you have McClain at second, and you have De La Cruz at short, and you have up to middle defense where you basically have 2 shortstops, that's awesome. So that's why you want Elly at shortstop, because until he proves that he can't play there, they're going to give him every opportunity to do, because he's the best athlete. And you get McClain at second, dude, we got a double play combination for 15 years.
Yeah.
He at third, maybe eventually. I don't think he's there tonight, but I think eventually that might be the move. I'm down. I'm here for it.
Indy at third, maybe even the corner outfield. I loved, and it's something that I thought would happen a little bit down the road, like when Joey Votto comes back, but I love seeing Spencer Steer in left field, because Spencer Steer can play that corner outfield spot.
He play third, first, left. That's what all these guys can do. They all can play multiple positions.
He's a very Ben Zobrist type guy. I think that he fits everywhere you put him. And really, that's kind of the MO with most of these guys. I mean, Elly can play every single position. I'm pretty sure if you asked him to pitch, he'd be pretty good at that too.
With that arm, he probably could.
Oh man. And but when it comes to his best spot, like no one's gonna have more range, no one's gonna have more athleticism at shortstop than he will. Now, down the road in a couple of years when Edwin Arroyo is ready to go, we might have an interesting conversation there. Right. But you're looking at them already getting Noel V. Marte used to third base. They're not even looking at him as a shortstop anymore.
Right.
And Matt McLain really does profile better as a second baseman. Most scouts agree, profile better as a second baseman long-term than a shortstop or anywhere else. And he could even play center field. He played there in college. So there's a lot that can be done with those guys. But I think as the roster is right now, before you look at Marte and Arroyo and even years down the road with Cam Collier, the best iteration of this team is with Elliott short and McLain at second.
Exactly. Now, one thing, this always comes up. Now, this has been the problem with Reds ownership, and you know, us fans always get upset. And Robert here says they better pay these guys and keep them together. And I preface that with, well, they extended Hunter Green, so that's a step in the right direction. And I had one of my guys at work on, oh, they're going to trade India. I'm like, why would they trade Jonathan India? Oh, he's gonna want to make $100,000. I'm like, or $100,000. I'm like, I don't think Jonathan India is going to make that much money, but I mean, he's still we're still at least 3-4 years away from him even being free agent. I know he's arbitration eligible, but actually being a free agent, we're still a ways away from that.
Yeah, we've got a few years before we've got to worry about what's next with Jonathan India. And I know that, you know, the extension of Hunter Green is just the beginning. They're going to extend more people here. And it kind of almost somehow, even though it's still early in Hunter Green's rookie contract, it like ratcheted up the urgency for some of the other players to get their extensions done now too. And as much as it'd be nice for Jonathan India to sign, he's got that one dude that's going to make it really hard to sign right now, and that's Scott Boras. Scott Boras does not sign extensions before you're going to get the most money out of his clients. That's just what he does. So there's where a lot of folks are starting to wonder if a trade probably isn't the most viable solution there. But I think that there's going to be a shot that we still extend India. And I know I'm being a little bit all roses and super optimistic when it comes to a situation with dealing the most expensive agent on the market, but I think that the Reds can get it done, and I think India is in love with this city right now. I think that there's going to be the ability to keep him here, and I don't necessarily think that the trade is the end-all, be-all, and I think we know by now, like, look, when you trace back, this is kind of like the Office rumors episode whenever Michael's like starting all these wrong rumors and stuff. Like when you look back to the trace point of this rumor of Jonathan India being traded, it was C. Trent Rosecrans saying this could be the best possible scenario. He was just looking at what could happen in the future. He wasn't right. He wasn't even saying this is gonna happen. So I think we got to pump the brakes a little bit. It's not like the Reds are actively shopping him to other teams right now. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing is right now, the Reds don't need to trade anybody. Just let them all figure it out. Because and I want to pump the brakes a little bit. Yes, the division is winnable. Yes, the Reds could win this. Do I actually think they will? No, but I'm not. I want everybody to look at it. I kind of look at it like this. It's like the 2020 Bengals. You can see the start of it. You know, you see what's going to happen. Just let them grow. Enjoy watching Elly. Enjoy watching Indy. Enjoy watching Matty Bats. Enjoy watching these guys pitch. Watch them develop. Next year, we're going to be pretty good. The year after that, we're going to be really damn good.
Yes.
So, I mean, you just got to not hurry up and go, oh, we got to go all in. And I am a guy who says, you know, you don't pick the season picks you. Now, we come into late August and we're, you know, a game and a half out and we actually got a shot. Like, yeah, I want to go make a trade and go get somebody. But June, you got to wait a little bit and see what happens. So just bringing these guys up. Encarnacion Strand hit another one last night. He's another one I think is coming up soon. So,
oh, yeah.
You got to figure out where all these guys play. You still got this guy named Joseph Daniel Votto who is going to come back sometime. I mean, he's not going to just end the season he's not going to end his career like this. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, no, and the rehab assignment that he started, he's got a limit of 20 days. So I'm guessing we'll see him probably in about 2.5 weeks ish, something like that. And I think that's part of moving Spencer Steer to left field yesterday is that, you've got Votto and you've got CES that are ready to go. And CES profiles as a good first baseman moving forward. He can field pretty decently at that spot. I know he's been playing some third base as well there in AAA. But I really think that, this team, with the opportunity that it has this year, is going to kind of confuse us a little bit because as much as they could go for it, what it's going to cost
Right.
and what they might have to sacrifice a year or two down the road will not be worth it. Right. As far as, they've got questions of bullpen depth and they've got questions of starting pitching depth. And there's some things that if they were to address this year, they could contend. But if you're talking about trading a guy like Cam Collier, or you're talking about trading a guy like Edwin Arroyo or something like that, or even some of the mid-level prospects, there's some guys coming up in the lower levels like Hector Rodriguez, who's killing it in Daytona, and you've got one of my favorite ones in Carlos Jorge, and then you're also talking about just some dudes that Leonardo Balcazar as well. I think Balcazar actually had a season-ending injury, but some names that people don't know just yet.
Right.
That were on the same level of the guys like Elly De La Cruz and Matt McClain and all that stuff a couple of years ago when people were just like, don't tell me about those guys because right now they're not going to help us win right now. But now we see what they're doing.
Right.
So it's rough because there's plenty of people that have said, I've heard prospect talk for 30 years. Yeah. And I really don't want to talk more about prospects. But now we're seeing what happens whenever the Reds find a plan and stick to it.
But the thing is, we heard prospect talk for 30 years. The last time we actually had this many prospects, like I said, was the late 80s.
Yeah.
That's where Reds fans, like I said, I've been around a while. I remember all this stuff too. I remember we had Brandon. What was this? The third baseman. He crushed it in AAA. Couldn't hit up here. I can't remember his name now. He was supposed to come up here and be the next this or that and whatever, right. And it never happened. But the difference is now we got guys that are coming up. Last time we had something. We didn't have this many guys. We had Bruce, we had Votto, we had Homer. We had I can't think of his name. Johnny Cueto.
Yep.
All those guys came. There's more guys now coming up than there was then. We have more guys behind them. That's what's different about this. It's not only we have this wave, we have waves of guys beyond them, and they might not all come up here and hit. But the thing is, if you can go and get to the point where you can compete year after year after year, you can take some of these guys that are in the minors and you can trade some of them and go get some pieces here and there to plug in and play. We're not there yet, but that's the future. And I can see the actual plan and they're actually sticking to it. So that's the other exciting thing to me about this whole thing.
And the beautiful thing too, I think, is that when a general manager like Nick Krall tells you we're going to build from within, we're going to develop, we're going to make the bulk of our roster, the core of our roster, people that we draft and develop. Usually we think, okay, that's like 3 or 4 guys. We still got like a whole other team we got to sign here. But the Reds have so many dudes and so much talent that they can place in so many different positions that we really will be talking about this offseason and next offseason of them filling in the margins with free agent deals that, sure, are they going to go out and they're going to sign Shohei Ohtani? No. But they could go out and they get that like middle innings guy that everybody's looking for, or maybe they get their 5th starter from the free agency, or maybe they get like a key power bat from the free agent market. They're not going to have to build like they did in 2020 and 2021 through trades that gut the farm system and big free agent deals that set records. They're going to be able to spend that money on guys that they developed and guys that they can control for many more years than just a 2 or 3 year deal. Like, as much as it pains me to say, and I loved the time that Nick Castellanos was here, even when he was signed, I was a little bit worried about, man, like we gave him a prove it deal. What happens when he proves it?
Yep,
he ain't sticking around. And we saw that.
Yep.
Now, when we have young guys prove it, like when Elly De La Cruz proves that hype is real, he's still here for another 5 years. Like, I love that.
Exactly. Now, Andrew here has a question. Is Fraley going on the IL now? Have you heard that?
That was a heck of a hit by pitch there, and I think I saw that late lineup change there because he was leading off once again here tonight. Let me see here. Double check that lineup. Yeah, because they still have him in the lineup. I guess they haven't.
Okay.
They haven't.
So because Andrew said here that Benson's leading off.
I kind of like that actually. And everyone's going to be like, he's batting $140. Why do you like that?
Oh, dude. All right, hold on, Jeff, real quick. So that he came up for the pinch hit last night. My son goes, Will Benson, they don't have anybody better than that. I'm like, actually, he's been hitting better here lately. And bam! I'm like, he goes, never mind.
Okay, I do see it now. Charlie Goldsmith just tweeted about 14 minutes ago. Yep, Benson is leading off and playing in right field because Fraley was scratched with a right wrist contusion. I see the Reds have this weird thing of like guys that are hurt but not hurt,
right?
And not putting them on the IL until like 4 or 5 days after the fact. I could see them probably waiting another day or two to see if Fraley's ready to go. But here's why I think Will Benson leading off is interesting, because he has shown a propensity to get on base here recently.
Yes.
And that is his profile. 3 true outcomes guy. He's going to annoy the crap out of you with a low batting average, but he's going to have a nice on base and he's going to hit the crap out of the ball when he makes contact.
And play good defense too.
Very good defense. I mean, he's such an athletic dude. I had somebody say that and it was I believe it was a Brewers fan, said that, boy, he really reminds me of Jason Hayward. And I'm like, hey, I'll take that if that works out. Like, I don't necessarily know that we're going to find that out here in the next couple of weeks, but I've seen the thing to me that really lets me know that he's getting better. And it was a statistic that I believe it was at Reds fan Brandon tweeted. He said that for the first month of the season and before he got sent down, Will Benson had a contact rate of like 75% of pitches in the strike zone.
Right.
Now, ever since he's been called up, it's up to 93%. Huge difference. So I think he just had to calm down a little bit, right? Like after that first game, felt like Will Benson was trying to hit a bases empty grand slam every time he came up to the plate. Now he's just like, let's just have it at bat. Let's just get on base. And it's really paying off for him. I think we're going to see a good night here. I might look at a couple props on Will Benson tonight. I don't know.
Ooh, there you go. All right, Robert here's got a statement or a question about the guy that is signed. He said they got a young man from Taiwan, 2-way player. The other day, they're going to have to keep these players together and keep building to recruit the big red machine. That's what the city needs. I'm all for it. What do you know about the kid, the young man from Taiwan? I read a little bit about him.
Yes, and to try to pronounce his name is Leng Xing En. 17-year-old from Taiwan, $1.2 million signing bonus. And really when it comes to international players, it's tough to get information. In fact, as much as I tried to look, the only thing I saw was his performance in the Under-18 World Cup, and I think he only played in 3 games. But how he pitched and things like that, and it was pretty decent pitching performance. He's very athletic, very fast. He's going to profile well up the middle of the field. They listed him as a shortstop or center fielder, as well as being that pitcher. But being 17 years old, I mean, the baseball world is his oyster at this point. We're probably not going to hear about him for at least another year or two. We'll see him in the rookie complex leagues here probably for the next year at least. But the signing bonus is what gives away what scouts think about him, because even when the Reds signed Elly De La Cruz, they weren't sure about him. They only gave him a $60,000 contract. And usually you're hearing about guys like Alfredo Rodriguez. Remember a few years ago, whenever the Reds signed Alfredo Rodriguez, number one, we thought, really cool name. And number two, I think it was like a $4 or $5 million bonus. So we're like, oh, they really like this guy. Mm-hmm. When it comes to Leng Xing En, they just gave a 17-year-old $1.2 million. They think he's going to be something. So he's going to be a name to watch out for as he's coming up through the complex leagues in Arizona, and then we're going to see him in Daytona. We'll see him. Can't wait till he gets to Dayton and see what he can do there.
Exactly.
But he's got a long runway ahead of him. Don't want to rush him up too quickly.
Well, that's one thing I think the Reds are doing a better job of, is not rushing these guys. Yes. You know, they're pinpointing what they need to work on. Like Elly, they wanted him to be more not as aggressive, but take more pitches, be more selective, and he's done that. He's worked. I mean, he proved it last night of the 2 walks he got. Because, I mean, and I hate to bring it because they haven't done that. I mean, for years, I mean, I think I'll bring up the Homer Bailey. They brought him up, I think, too early. And I think that hurt him. It took him longer to actually develop. Jose Barrero, they brought him up too early. And I don't know if he's ever going to get to where his potential is. I mean, I kind of don't think that's going to happen. So I think the Reds are doing a better job of being more patient. That's one thing Reds fans have got to try and do, is be more patient. I know we all want to win. Trust me. I want to win too. But, if we rush these guys and they're not ready, then they're not ready. And one one particular person that I was actually surprised is Abbott. I want to talk about Abbott pitching.
Yeah.
I was shocked, one, how good he did. Two, how fast he got up here. Because it was a month ago where he was hit or miss. He was pitching okay, but not that great. He had stuff to work on. Then all of a sudden, a light switch went on, and he took off, and he proved it the other night. Is that what do you think that is? The Reds just doing a better job of letting these guys marinate and cook, or just the players themselves?
I think that this really proves the value of having Derek Johnson being like the pitching development czar that he is. I think that, we've talked about him in the past as being a wizard of taking some pitchers and making them better. There's been some folks here recently with, you look at the team ERA, and I think you got to pull into question what Derek Johnson's doing. But
look at the bullpen.
Yeah. The part of it's, you're starting Luis Sessa in the starting, or Connor Overton in the starting rotation. But on the other side of that coin is guys like Graham Ashcraft. Graham Ashcraft was a name that no one really knew about until he just shot up the prospect rankings in 2021. Mm-hmm. Andrew Abbott, same way, really not somebody that anybody knew at the beginning of 2022. And then all they heard about was, dude, this kid is pitching really lights out. Right. And then even this year, he still had a high strikeout clip in the minors. He had 54 innings pitched with 90 strikeouts. And he even said it after his first start. He's just like, we got to win. I did pretty well, but I had 4 walks, and I didn't really like that, and I think I'm going to have to improve on that. So I love the mentality that he has out there on the mound, but more so, and it's something that we saw a lot with Graham Ashcraft, something that we've seen. I think that Hunter Green has developed his fastball and developed 2 different kinds of sliders to kind of make it so that he doesn't only have 2 pitches to throw.
Right.
But pitchers need options. They need to have multiple pitches that they can call upon, especially if they're a starter. Andrew Abbott's got 4 pitches that he can control, put anywhere he wants in the zone, and they have 4 different speeds. He is set up so well to succeed. And his mechanics, and this is kind of something that it was unexpected, but it excited me. A friend of mine who does pre and post for the Milwaukee Brewers texted me 2 side-by-side videos of Andrew Abbott pitching and Cliff Lee pitching, and saying, he looks really similar. He gives me Cliff Lee vibes, and I'm like, good. Hopefully he continues that.
Right. Exactly. Now, are you concerned at all about Ashcraft? Because we went to the game Saturday and he did not pitch well at all. Now, the outing before that, he pitched great. The one before that, he pitched like ass. I mean, he's a young pitcher. He's going to go up and down and up and down. I think it's more of a mechanical thing. I don't think there's anything physically wrong with him.
No, and he's healthy, which I think lends itself a little bit to me being worried. I'd probably say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably give it about a 4 or a 5 at this point.
He was dominant, Jeff. He was killing it.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason that it's not higher than that. I think some people would think that at this point it'd be like a 10, but his first 6 starts, he had a 2 ERA. He was absolutely killing it. And there's just all of a sudden, it's like something clicked, and he got frustrated with something, and now he's trying to make up for it, and he's in this cycle of, well, I got to pitch really, really good because this last outing. He's just got to put it all out of his mind, just go out there and pitch. And the biggest thing for me, the reason why the worry is at a 5, is because of the pitch mix for him, because his pitch mix right now is a cutter, which is really a 4-seam fastball, but it has a cutting motion to it, and then a slider, which both have the same sort of break planes. So if a hitter's up there, he knows this pitch is either going away from me or it's coming into me, period. I know where it's going. He had a sinker, but his sinker has been very unreliable this year, and the tiny little bit that he's thrown, it's gotten clobbered. So he's got to figure out what's going on with that sinker. But yeah, just like the comment had said there, it's like there's something, as Robert said, it's like there's something each start that seems to just get stuck in his craw, you know what I mean? And he just can't seem to get over that. And then by the time he's worked through it mentally, 3 other runs have gotten put up on the board on him.
Oh, yeah, so I'm not as worried about it because I've seen him pitch. He knows how to pitch up here. Hunter Green knows how to pitch up here. Nick Lodolo knows how to pitch up here. Now he'll get Nick back. I mean, because beginning of the year, Nick Lodolo had some dominating performance as well. Yeah. If you add Abbott to this, and they're all pitching to their potential, Jeff, it reminds me of the Atlanta Braves back in the day. Now, everyone forgets about Steve Avery. Steve Avery was
Yeah.
the fourth member of that pitching staff in the early 90s before he hurt his arm. They had 4 young studs, and they rode those guys. And that's what gets me excited because I've been dying for the Reds to be able to do that. And if all 4 of these guys can pitch like we think they can, you're not trading Jonathan India for another pitcher. I mean, that's what people have suggested. You got 4 studs. Let them marinate. Let them, try to get better. That's what this year, potentially next year. I know everyone wants to win. Potentially next year. I'm always talking about 2025. I think is really the year we're going to be a really good contender, and maybe it's sooner. But how exciting is it to watch the potential for these guys, and not only okay starters, like dominant starters, is where these guys can be.
4 starters, and then you even look at the fact that Brandon Williamson is starting to figure some things out too.
Yes.
When you add him into the mix, and you're talking about a healthy pitching staff of Lodolo Green and Ashcraft with Andrew Abbott, you've got 3 starting pitchers that throw from the left side. Yep. I can't remember even just having 3 left-handed pitchers, period, let alone 3 good left-handed pitchers on the Reds pitching staff. Like, it's normally a lot of right-handers, and you got Wade Miley or some random left-hander that's there at the end of the rotation that you're just like, yeah, thankfully we got 1. Now we're going to have 3 if these guys can stay healthy and really take that next step. And Andrew Abbott's just a dude that I think we thought this about Graham Ashcraft as he came up last year, where, Green and Lodolo are very much about the strikeout. And Ashcraft's just about getting in and getting out and getting the lineup back on the field.
Right.
I think Andrew Abbott is kind of a mix. Like, he is able to get those strikeouts, but he's also able to be efficient with it as well. We saw that the first 2 innings were all adrenaline for him. I think that's really where he racked up the pitch count, is because he was just jazzed up. He's like, let's go. Once he settled down, he threw less pitches in his final 4 innings than he did in his first 2. What we saw in his final 4 is much more like what we're going to see moving forward.
Exactly. Now, I've seen a couple comments on here. People are saying Joey Votto's washed. He should just end this, blah, blah, blah. I'll put it to you this way. This is my caveat to it. If the Reds are in this in the second half, if Joey Votto can come back and be somewhat like the Joey Votto of old, that would be a huge thing, not only for this year, but just to show these young guys how to be a professional, how to be a gamer, how to play in, day out. That's what I think Joey Votto still can contribute to this team. And if he can, which, trust me, if Joey Votto's not 100%, he's not up to his own standards, he's not going to play. I guarantee you that. So I'm for Joey Votto being here and trying to help this team win, develop these guys. I think it's nothing but good if he can do it.
I think that he's going to be useful to this team. I think a lot of folks kind of have written him off because they're like, well, we've got all these young guys. The infield's full. We don't need them. But when we get Joey Votto back, he's going to add power to the lineup. I think we're still going to get more of a 2021 Joey Votto than, 2017, where he just wasn't getting out. Like, I think he probably is going to hit like 230, 240, but he's going to hit some home runs. He's going to slug at a clip that's going to concern opposing pitchers. So I think that he's still going to be a useful part of this lineup. But what he has done, even while hurt, but still with the team, still in the dugout, it's interesting to me that, at the end of 2022, it was like he was doing all this publicity stuff. He's sitting out the stands with people. He's up in the booth and stuff like. He hadn't done that this year. This year, he's just been in the dugout, in the clubhouse, working with guys, like being a mentor to all of these young players. The Reds have the second youngest roster for average age in the major leagues. I think it's second only to the Cleveland Guardians. Right. And I think that he has been in there trying to impart his wisdom, impart his batter's eye to these young kids like McLean and now with Elly De La Cruz coming up and even like Will Benson and TJ Hopkins and guys like that. Like, they're learning from one of the all-time best batters, and for me, the smartest batter that the Reds have ever had in the history of their franchise. Like, he is a dude that, if he wants to, could be an amazing coach, and I think we've seen that. And I think there was an article, I can't remember if it was Charlie or if it was Bobby Nightingale before he pieced out to Minneapolis.
Yeah, he left us with the Minnesota. What the hell?
Yeah. Well, everybody else is too. I mean, Sonny Gray and Tyler Malley's up there, and but anyway, one of them wrote an article about what he is doing to contribute to the effort, even though we haven't, he's not contributing in the box score. And I think that Joey Votto has been an invaluable part of this team, whether or not we've seen him on the field so far. And he's going to continue to be, even when he does get back on the field here, hopefully in the next 3 weeks.
Exactly. Now, the question I had, and you've been on the show multiple times here. I am not a huge David Bell fan. I mean, I love he's from Cincinnati. His dad was one of my favorite players when I grew up. This is where, and I've given David the benefit of that last couple of years because he hasn't had a team. And I'm not saying this is the make or break year. If they bring him back next year, I'm not so sure that he's the guy to make the decisions. Just some of the stuff he does still drives me freaking insane. And my son goes, well, what was the last Reds manager you liked? I said, Lou Piniella. He goes, why'd you like him? They won the World Series. But right. Maybe he's right to a certain extent. Now, I like how David Bell sticks up for his players. Like last night, get thrown out when he had no you knew he was going to get thrown out because he's arguing balls and strikes. But that umpire was terrible. So he's standing up for his guys, and I love that about him. And I love how the players play hard for him and everything. Jeff, it's just the decisions that he makes of when to take guys out, when not to take guys out. And for the love of God, he's starting Kevin Newman again for the 500th freaking time. I'm like, I just don't know. I mean, I want him to be the right manager.
Right.
I just don't know if he is.
I think, and specifically to the Kevin Newman point, I think Kevin Newman is one of the few holdovers left of the get me from A to B type player. Like, I think they're holding out some hope that Kevin Newman continues to hit and they can trade him.
Right.
And in the process of that, once he is traded, then they'll call up CES and put that, because I kind of thought they might be doing that with Elly De La Cruz. Thankfully, that wasn't the case, and he's already here, and we're watching him every day now. But when it comes to a guy like that, I think that's kind of the plan. Up until this point, I've given David Bell the benefit of the doubt because they asked him to make a Michelin star meal. And they gave him frozen dinners, TV dinners, Hungry Man stuff, which they're fine for what they are, but I'd rather have something a little bit more substantial. Now we're getting those ingredients. We're getting the right things in place. And now it's on David Bell to make that Michelin star meal. He's got to figure out the right spots to put everybody in the right spots in the lineup, the right spots on the field defensively, the right times to pull pitchers, because you're right, that's one thing that I've wondered a little bit about. And I wish I had more statistics or something like this about guys that he brings in as relief pitchers to finish off an inning and then brings him back the next inning to pitch more. I feel like it's bad. Like I don't think that's a very good plan.
I don't think it is either.
Yeah, but albeit here these last couple of games, he's pulled the right strings. So yeah. It's one of those weird things where there's some games that he's just so off on his moves, and then there's other games where he pulls all the right strings. So it's hard for me to say one way or the other there. I've always said about him that I don't think he's not the guy. Like, I think I still need to see him, and he's got 100 games now with the right players in place to see what we can do. But now begins the actual evaluation period of him. And it's weird because you're right, he's under an expiring contract, and there's a very good chance he gets at least one more year as the manager. But I think up until now, he's been given a whole bunch of junk to work with, and now we see what he can do with the good stuff.
Now, I'll say this, and I said this in 2021 when the Reds were fighting their ass off trying to make the playoffs, and we had a crap bullpen. And I'm like, I didn't blame David Bell because I'm like, what is he supposed to do? We had really good starting pitcher and a terrible friggin' bullpen. Like, there wasn't barely anybody he could rely on down there. So that's where I gave him the benefit of the doubt. But so I'm not completely against it, but there's so many times I just do stuff. I'm kind of like, what are you doing? Like, now if the Reds are, Newman better like catch fire like quick. If they are waiting for CES to come up here and to get rid of him first, I'm like, I will DFA. Just cut Newman. Bring up Encarnacion Strand now. I mean, put him at first base, put Steer in left field, put India at third base, and let's go. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. If that's the reason, which you might be right. You might be, if that's the reason they're waiting to bring him up, they got to bring him up now because he's proven he can hit AAA pitching. I mean, he's just toying with them right now. It's kind of like De La Cruz. I'm all for waiting, but now it's kind of like Come on, bring him up here. And the thing is, you can put him at first base. You can DH him. I mean, and that's the thing, too. People have said, well, we got to get more outfielders. We got too many shortstops. Well, if you can play shortstop, you can play anywhere.
Right.
So you can, like you said, we can move Elly to center field if this other kid comes up and is a great shortstop in a couple of years. We can move McLean to center field. I don't understand the whole thing where people are like, we got to trade for this. We got to trade for that. Our minor leagues are set up for guys who are athletic and can play. And they can play anywhere. And Steer's a great person for that. He's playing left field, he's playing third base, plays first, and he plays a great defense wherever he does. So I'm not all about we got to hurt and trade guys. And I never understand why people are like, we got too many shortstop. Jeff, I'll draft all the shortstops I can. If they can hit and they can play shortstop, they can play anywhere.
Oh, yeah. And you're talking about a roster that as soon as 3 or 4 years ago, even back in 2021 on the lineup side, we were filling the roster with corner infielders and corner outfielders and asking them to play the middle infield and the middle in center field and the athletic positions that really you'd rather build it the opposite way. And I think that was a lesson that Nick Krall had learned. And Dick Williams was doing the best with what he could. He went out and he signed Mike Moustakas. He signed Nick Castellanos. Nick Castellanos came up as a third baseman, and then they found out he couldn't play in the infield, so they moved him to corner outfield defensively. Mike Moustakas has always been a third baseman. We tried to play him at second base because that was before we had Jonathan India up here. There's so much of roster building that I think the Reds have learned the hard way, that for so many years they had guys out of position. Now they're just like, you know what? If we just fill it with athletes, we have just crazy, awesome, top tier level athletes. We can put them somewhere in the field, and they can then get their bat in the lineup. So I'm really happy to see that this is how we've built it. I mean, Noelvi Marte is going to be fine at third base. Even if you play second base, he's going to be great there. Edwin Arroyo actually profiles as a better defensive shortstop than Elly De La Cruz does. And then Cam Collier is going to be a fantastic player wherever he goes. He drafted as a third baseman. He might be like a right fielder by the time he comes up. There's so much that the Reds can do with all these guys that they don't have to, stare at Mike Moustakas sideways and be like, is he a second baseman? And maybe.
Exactly. That's what I love about what they've done here. Robert here's got a question. Said, here's the first statement here, guys. I have faith that his players will play for him. My question is this: who would or be considered his replacement, Barry Larkin or Votto? I guess talking about Bell.
The idea of Joey Votto is not something I've really thought about. I don't
I
necessarily
kind of thought about it when you were talking. I'm like,
Yeah, and I don't know about manager of the entire team. I think hitting coach is probably something Joey would go for, at least right out of the gate. Barry Larkin is an interesting one to me because I've said before, and this is something that Steve and I have talked about on our show, that what's likely to happen is that they're not just going to let David Bell go. They're not going to fire him or anything like that. They're going to promote him. They're going to put him in the general manager's chair. They're going to have Nick Krall as like the president of baseball ops or whatever that is. And then they might have Barry Larkin as the manager. I think that's kind of why Barry Larkin remains around this team. Think about what he was doing before he was in the announcing booth. He was developing the young players, whether it be in spring training or as a traveling instructor to the different minor league levels. And then for some reason, the Reds stopped that. Now, I don't necessarily know if that was them saying at that time that they're not going to consider him for a manager spot in the future. But I've always thought that if Barry Larkin was the manager, because remember, he was the main name whenever we were letting go of Brian Price years ago. And I wanted him. Back at that period of time, Barry Larkin looked at the situation of the Reds and he said, I don't think so. I don't think I want to get my hands dirty here. But if you're telling him that the roster's ready to go, could be the perfect scenario for him to go, because I think that he understands. Everybody knows him as the Hall of Fame player, that he's one of their favorite players of all time. He's one of my favorite players of all time.
Absolutely.
But the moment you get in that manager chair and you fail, that's when people start to reevaluate your legacy on the team. And I don't necessarily know that he has wanted to come into a failing situation. So he's going to look at this and he'll probably be interested. It's just, I'm not sure where the Reds are on the Barry Larkin idea as manager at this point.
Funny thing is, I think they really like David Bell.
I do too.
I really think, and I would not be surprised if they bring him back. That's just me. I think Nick Kroll and the ownership, they like, and I don't hate David Bell. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be a bad manager. I just don't like some of the stuff he's done, and he does some of the same stupid stuff consistently. That just drives me nuts.
A consistent point of complaint for David Bell is his post-game pressers where he's just like,
with David Bell.
Yeah, like he makes Bill Belichick seem like he's hyper or something. So there's something about those that really get under people, like stick underneath their craw. But when it comes to David Bell, the thing that we don't see is the thing that I think is his biggest strength, and that is his absolute even-keeled demeanor. Mm-hmm. And as much as we hate the fact that the Reds might have like the biggest comeback win they've ever had and he gets on the press conference and goes, yeah, well, it's a really good game. But he's also going to sound like that if they just had the worst loss in franchise history too. Yep. Like players know whether they go 0 for 4 or 4 for 4, their manager's still going to have their back. And I think that is his biggest strength and the reason why the organization is so in love with him.
Exactly. Now, what was the stat? I know Jay Morris tweeted out, and you guys said a locked on for how much the biggest, because you said the biggest comeback, it was like 17 wins or 8 wins of 500 and something losses.
Yeah, I forget what the time frame was because I thought it was like 30 years or something. It might even be longer than that, or maybe it's even in franchise history. But when they've been trailing by at least 5 runs in a game before last night, they were 11 and 506. Like that's not even something that you want to be like, so what's their win percentage? It's probably like 3% or something. So that's why that was such, and you did it against the Dodgers and you did it on Elly De La Cruz night. And the reason that they did it was all rookies in the B squad of the bullpen. There was no Alexis Diaz. There was no Lucas Sims. Wasn't even Buck Farmer. Yep. So I
got him tonight
love
though.
That.
We got him tonight, so that bodes well. I mean, how cool would it be to win the series against the Dodgers? Now, when I was a kid, Dodgers and the Reds were in the NL West, which everybody like the Reds in the NL West. Yeah, it was stupid. I don't know why the hell we're in the NL West, but we were, and I hated the Dodgers. So anytime we beat the Dodgers, I freaking love it. Jeff, you've been on for 48 minutes. I appreciate it. Yeah, tell everybody about Locked On, your Twitter, or anything else you want to plug in for. I'll let you go.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, Strawberry Ice Man, having me on. We've got Locked On Reds every single day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. You can catch us on YouTube or on your favorite podcasting app. You can also follow me on Twitter at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs, and you can follow my co-host Steve Offenbaker at S Offenbaker with 2 Fs as we try to, talk Reds in between the 30 minutes a day that we give you.
Exactly. All right, Jeff. Well, I appreciate you coming. Like this is a last minute thing. I reached out to you today, and you jumped on, so I appreciate it. And hey, if people see, the thing is, I kind of stopped talking to Reds because they were terrible and nobody's watching. So I'm like, I do this so people watch. We talk Reds when they're like, oh, you're just a bandwagon. No, trust me, I was watching the games. Right. I just didn't talk about it.
Well, what'd we say back in January after the stinking Chiefs won? We're like, well, hopefully the Reds just get us to training camp, and they're doing that, and so much more.
Exactly. All right, Jeff. Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
All right, see you, man.
Take it easy. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Like I said, we can talk some Reds. I know it's called Bengals Talk, but hey, we can talk Reds. We can talk whatever you guys want. I am ecstatic about Elly De La Cruz. I mean, it was so electric last night. I can't explain to you how last night felt. It was like Clinchmas. It was like we said, when Elly came up to bat, everybody stood up, gave me a standing ovation. I'm sitting there, I'm recording it. So we didn't get all the way up to our seats because we kind of got down there a little late. I did the show yesterday. So I'm standing right there behind home plate. And I got a perfect view. All of a sudden, everybody gets in front of me. I'm like, trying to move my camera like this. So I'm actually watching it on my camera because everybody's standing in front of me. And I got to see it. And everybody got dead silent. It was almost eerie, but it was really freaking cool. And then when he came up later on, you hear Elly, 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 Elly. It was just one of the coolest nights I've had in a long time at GABP. It was a lot of fun. So they're going to start here in a couple minutes. We're going to go watch them. But let me get to the Facebook groups that let me live stream, and I appreciate every single one of you. They are Who Dey Nation, Who Dey Legion, Radical Reds, Bearcat Ruckus, the Ohio State Bucknuts, the Ice Bar. And then, of course, you can follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Strawberry Ice. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Twitter handle is at Jeff A. Trenopole. That's Jeff, Jeff. A. Trenopole, Trennepohl. TikTok, at Iceman90. I should be pulling this off later on tonight. Put it on the podcast. It's on BeanPod, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure rate, like, and review. Leave a 5-star review and a comment so more Cincinnati fans can find my podcast. YouTubers, you guys are my originals. I love you guys. 2,209 subscribers. I'll be on tomorrow. We'll be talking Bengals again tomorrow. I've got Trags, Mike Petraglia. He's going to jump on. I got the Godfather, AC. He's jumping on. So we can talk some Bengals tomorrow. We can also talk Elly. Maybe the Reds win again tonight. How cool would this be? Just say in the next, I don't know, say 4 years, Bengals win the Super Bowl. FC Cincinnati wins their championship, whatever it's called. I'm trying to get in soccer. I'm really trying to get in soccer. I just don't understand it. The Reds win the World Series. Title Town, USA. Cincinnati, Ohio. That's just sports, baby. See ya!
We talked about it yesterday, just that chip on your shoulder. Everyone talking about a neutral AFC championship game, not even thinking about you guys. How much did that motivate you coming into this?
You better send those refunds.
I'm from the city where they gotta play us. Fuck a coin flip, it's time to pay up. Don't cross the middle, 21 in the cut. We ain't hiding from nobody, run and tell them it's up. I'm from the city where they gotta play us. Fuck a coin flip, it's time to pay up. Don't cross the middle, 21 in the cut. We ain't hiding from nobody, run and tell them it's up. Back-to-back champs, kings of the north with it. Thinking they can hang with us, still ain't jumped out the porch with it. Long bomb to chase every Sunday, watch him go and get it. Double up on him, then we gon' double down on T. Higgins. Then throw Boyd in the mix, now you really iffy. Every Sunday showing boys how to really gritty. They try to shuffle up the game on us, but they ain't icky. Flip the coin, kick the toe, Roger to go and get it. Never know what's gonna happen when Joe drop back. He get shiesty in the pocket, I get shiesty on the track. Nobody on the team all pro, that's all cap. Most all around team in the NFL, that's all fact. Ain't came across nobody yet that seem like they can hang with us. They said we couldn't be Buffalo, but see how we call they bluff. Underdogs every week, they keep on trying to label us. Put your money on us, even if Vegas don't favor us. No matter what, we really came up, now it's hard to fail. I dare you come across that middle, Von gon' ring your bell. I know we under they skin, them boys built frail. Eli Apple out there chirping like a next tail. You don't want Salmon Trey to come off them ends. Rita clogging up the middle like a big body Benz. Right behind them Logan and Pratt, the turnover twins. Jesse Bates in the backfield just to clean up the loose ends. We just drafted Cam and drafted Hill. Instant gratification every time that they on the field. We can't go back to what we was, cause that's the loser way. It's been hard to throw on us since we picked up a woozy, eh? It's like win after win, feel like we could really do it. Zach Taylor doing his thing for the city, I give it to him. And I bet Samaji will find a hole if you give it to him. Hayden Hurst don't need a hole, he just plan on running through him. Just hand it off to 28 and let him do the dash. Getting hit by BJ Hill probably feel like a car crash. Every week it seem like Lou digging deeper in his bag. And if the game on the line, all my favorite money match. I'm from the city where they gotta play us. Fuck a coin flip, it's time to pay up. Don't cross the middle, 21 in the cut. And we ain't hiding from nobody, run and tell them it's up. I'm from the city where they gotta play us. Fuck a coin flip, it's time to pay up. Don't cross the middle, 21 in the cut. And we ain't hiding from nobody, run and tell them it's up.